Hey, Kenny, you guys obviously getting Dmitry Kulikov. How tough is it to have the quarantine, to have to wait for him? And I guess, did that kind of factor into any of your other thinking today?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't factor any other thinkings. We're working to get him up here. Obviously, he's going to have to quarantine for a week. So hopefully, in the next few days, he'll be on a plane and he'll be up here. And obviously, on our schedule, we start Friday. We play 4 games in 6 nights, so he won't be available for any of those 4 games. And then we have 4 days off, and I think we play in Winnipeg 2 weeks tonight. So the hope is that he'll be available for that game.
Reed Wilkins, 630 Chad.
Thanks, Sean. Hi, Ken. I was just wondering if you can give us your report on Kulikov. What do you think he'll add and how he'll fit in?
Well, he's obviously a left shot defenseman that's played over 700 NHL games. He's 30 years old, so he's an experienced guy. I think he's played a little over 20 playoff games. He can skate. He's can make a good first pass, and he's, I think, defensive minded. He's got some edge to his game, and he can kill penalties. So you think about or I think about the playoffs. You got to be able to defend. You got to be good on special teams. You got to find ways to win games. 2-1, 3-2, and we think he's going to make us better defensively, give us more depth, and provide an edge and get the puck moving forward. I don't think he's an offensive-minded defenseman, but certainly think he can get the puck moved up to our forwards and defense first.
Taylor Hall was traded to Boston. Were you ever seriously involved in discussions with the Sabres for Hall, and why or why not?
I'm not even sure if can I answer those questions. Not really. I'm not going to really get into it. I'm not even sure if I can talk about other teams' players, but there was no. The answer is no.
Daniel Bowman, The Athletic.
Hi, Ken. I know money was tight, as you said, and kind of dollar in, dollar out situation here, but were you disappointed you couldn't add more? And how close were you to really adding, a forward that could impact your team?
We weren't really close. I did talk to some teams about some forwards. I wouldn't know that they were, impact forwards, but they were, NHL forwards. But money was tight, assets were tight, and I guess as we went through it, I felt that the priority was to get a little bit deeper on the back end.
And I know we, in the last couple of days, we saw some teams get creative with, linking in another team to eat some money. Did you guys ever really go down that road as a way to get creative and try to?
No.
Yeah.
Jim Matheson, Post Media.
A couple of things, Ken. Chris Russell has been in the second pairing with Larson. Do you see Kulikov sliding into that spot? And was the I guess the drop off from Darnell Nurse, who played so many minutes, to Chris Russell, who's smaller, and then to two young players, to Lagus and Jones, the reason you felt you needed to get Kulikov?
I think certainly. When you look at the teams in this division that are going to be in the playoffs, I mean, they're all good teams. They're going to be, I anticipate 2 great series in the North, and obviously you talked about Jones and Lagus, and they've played really good for us. They don't have a lot of NHL experience. They're just sort of learning the National Hockey League. They're doing a good job at it. Slater Kukuk, we think he's going to be back sometime in early May, but when you've been out for almost 3 months, or 2 to 3 months, and you're trying to catch up here as you're heading into the Stanley Cup playoffs. not really sure where his game is going to be at until he played. So I felt that, we wanted to get somebody on the left side that could make us a little bit deeper. He's got good size to him. And, Chris Russell played very, very well. And I think as far as who's playing with who, Jim, I leave that up to the coaching staff. They'll sort out the pairs.
And Ken, the fact that you had more than one hole to fill, I mean, some teams went out like Tampa and knew that they needed a right shot defenseman and got Savard and, Foligno and Hall in Boston because they needed a. Did that make it a little more difficult for you? It wasn't like you just had one hole you were going to be looking at. You were looking at, with a center maybe in the third line and a left wing on the second line. Did that make it more tricky for you with no money?
Well, you know what, Jim, I think, obviously we got out of the gate 3-6. I think we're 22-9-1 our last 32. I mean, we've played at a high level the last little while. And I think that, I think that when there's a cap, everybody understands the cap. And we didn't have a lot of space. So that factored into the decision. I made a decision last year at the deadline to, spend lots of futures in trying to, go on a run last year. And unfortunately the pandemic hit and then we picked up in July and we were out in 4 games and it didn't work. So, when you make decisions in life, they're going to affect future decisions in life. And I certainly made some decisions that affected my decision going forward. So I think those were the factors I think that weighed on me as we went through the trade deadline and made only one acquisition.
Jason Gregor, TSN 1260.
Ken, with the addition of Kulikov, and I know that he's not available for 4 games, but does that at all alter your thought process on Evan Bouchard, who hasn't played since March 1st? Would you contemplate sending him down now that you have more depth on the back end?
I mean, that's basically, Jason, I feel my job as the manager is to try to put together, a group of players that that can form a team that can compete and that can win, and then the coaching staff decides how they fit. Evan Bouchard, I've said this many times before, he's going to be a big part of this organization. Unfortunately for Evan, it's not right now, but certainly he's going to be a big part of our team. He's going to be on the ice playing in 21-22. I can't tell you what's going to happen. If we have some injuries, he's going to go in there, and maybe he's going to play in the playoffs. That's really up to the coaching staff. So, do we send him down to Bakersfield? I don't anticipate that that's going to happen. But you go another 2 weeks like we're going, and he doesn't play. Maybe I'll reassess at that point in time. But right now, no.
And, you talk pretty openly about, you weren't going to make a move unless it was an impact guy. You look at Kulikov and the amount of minutes he's played in New Jersey. He's a guy who technically could fit in your second pair. So that's a pretty big spot for your team. You talk about past decisions, figuring out when you look at your future and the cap space you have this summer, do you think it's safe to say if your team keeps playing well, like you maybe expect to be more active in future deadlines?
Yes, that's the hope. Yes. I mean, obviously, Jason, I was a manager on another team, and just you can look back at what the decisions that I made in the past, and I think you pick and choose. I don't know that you can be all in every year. I think you pick and choose. I made a decision last year, the first year here, that I wanted to. We wanted to try to get in and make some noise to get in, and then obviously everything changed because of the pandemic, and made an addition this year of a defenseman. So we'll see what next year's trade deadline brings. The hope is you're a buyer every year because it means that you're in the playoffs and you're trying to add. You'll see, we got to play your way in. Next year there's going to be 60 games before that you get to that point. So that certainly is the hope. The hope is that we're going to be a buyer next year, and we're going to do it again, and maybe try to make bigger noise.
Terry Jones, Post Media.
Ken, do you have a sense of whether you're going to have Oscar Klefbom playing next year?
I do not. I think my plan would be, Terry, that maybe in early July, obviously Clef's in Edmonton. Here he's in town. I talked to him about a week ago before we went on the road trip, and told Clef that I'd be in touch with him as we got into into June and July to see how he was doing. And obviously I've got to make decisions about our team, heading into the expansion draft and who we protect, and also into free agency as to whether he's thinking about playing next year or not. But I think it's too early to tell. He just had the surgery a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, so 3 weeks ago. So I think you got to give him time to heal, and sometime around 1st of July, early July, is when I'm going to need him to kind of tell me how he's feeling, so I can make some decisions.
And what about the situation with the expansion draft? As you head now toward the rest of the season, are you in any kind of quandaries there, or is it pretty straightforward, do you think?
No, it's pretty straightforward. We've got the players that we to meet the rules of exposure. So we're going to be, I'm going to be fine. Obviously, I want to watch our team now over the next the rest of the regular season and hopefully the playoffs, and then make some decisions, get information on Oscar Klefbom in early July, sometime around mid-July, July 15th, thereabout. We have to submit our protection list, and watch, evaluate, and then obviously I got some decisions to make. We've got some players that are unrestricted free agents that I want to talk to here over the rest of this year or the rest of this season and leading into the off season, and make decisions as we go along.
Jack Michael, 630 Ched.
Beyond what you actually add on the ice, Ken, is it also important for the players to see that you've been working hard and brought them something as a reward for what they've done in the first 42 games of the year? What kind of mental work is there, mental boost can your team get from a GM that's trying to help them out for a good first half of the year?
No, I think you make a great point. I think the players have played real hard, been successful, played our way into a situation where we feel like we keep going, that we're going to be in the playoffs, and it's always nice to feel there's some help coming through the door. So absolutely, I think that's also a part of today, not only in Edmonton but all around the league. As a manager, you like to pitch in a little bit.
And Ken, the follow-up would be off topic a little bit, but just Connor's post-games comments the other night, I kind of felt, from my position, it felt like he was kind of making a statement on behalf of the team and standing up for his team. Do you have respect for that when your captain does that, if it's something he believes in?
Absolutely. That's why Connor's he's not only a great player, he's a great captain. He I thought he was it was a tough day. I mean, it was a very, very tough day. Everybody was on the virtual celebration of life for Colby. I think it was almost 75 to 90 minutes. It was an incredible celebration, and emotional, and it was a tough night, tough day for our organization, for our obviously for Emily Cave and Colby's family, his parents and his sister. It was a very, very emotional day, and then to go out and play hockey that night was very, very emotional. So absolutely, I agree with Connor 100%. It was a really, really difficult day.
Jim Matheson.
A couple of things, Ken. Did you have a little bit of money left to try to get something else, let's say a winger or a center?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you where we're at. I mean, basically, today we're going to have 12 forwards on our roster, and the 3 goalies, and now we're going to have 8 defensemen. I think we're probably around maybe $2 million left. That allows us right now to probably access, there's a taxi squad. I needed to have money, for Slater Kukuk. He's ahead of schedule. He makes $850, so you can do the math. So, I mean, basically, for sure, if you want to call up one player from taxi and whoever that might be, Slater Kukuk, $1 million of that has to be held so that we can get at the taxi squad and when Slater Kukuk gets healthy. And if you want to have Slater Kukuk and a player from the taxi squad, the money's all spent.
And I presume this summer, the holes that maybe you were looking to fill because you had no money, you can perhaps do that in the summer in free agency, whether that's a left winger or another center or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Jim, we'll get to the off season and make whatever decision we got to make to try to put a competitive team on the ice for 21-22.
Final question, Danny Jim Bowman.
Ken, you brought in a player in Kulikov who's a UFA, and you gave up a mid-round draft pick, so you kind of washes out at the end of the year here. But I'm just wondering how you feel like your team is set up for the summer and for next season with the assets that you do still have.
I think part of the evaluation process is I gotta watch games. Obviously you're going to feel one way about your team if you lose in the first round. You're going to feel another way about your team if you win the Stanley Cup. So we've played at a high level. It's going to get more difficult. When you go into been fortunate to have been involved in lots of playoff runs. We made the playoffs 25 straight years in Detroit. So I've watched lots of hockey, lots of disappointments. There were some years that we were able to be the last team standing, and that's part of the, big part of the evaluation process in making decisions as you head into the off season. So there's lots of players on our team who are unrestricted free agents. So I've got the flexibility. Obviously, I can either re-sign them, or if we make a decision to go in another direction, we've got some salary cap money. So I believe that we're in a good situation in terms of having flexibility. Now I want to watch. Our team here down the stretch, and again, we've got a nice cushion between us and fifth. But you never. I like when that it's clinched. So lots of things can happen. So hopefully we keep playing the way we're playing, play our way in. And then obviously we're going to have a really difficult first round opponent. And every time you're able to win a playoff series, the next opponent's more difficult than the opponent that you played the previous round, as you go from 16-8 to 4-2 to the last team standing. So I got to watch our team, and we have flexibility, and then make evaluations when the season's over.